Hello everybody and welcome back to another Ayoto Corporation video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Plague Inc. Plague Inc. is currently in early access for $15, and it is by Endemic Creations. Now, one thing I should point out is that the game is also on iOS and Android devices, and I think is actually free there. This is in fact a port from the mobile devices. So if you want to try it out, you could try it going there. Alternatively, you could play the free Flash version, also known as Pandemic 2. Now, the game is basically a human extinction simulator, not related to the other one that we've actually done before. It's a game where you control a virus, and your intent is to destroy the world by infecting it. Now, there's a number of different ways you can go about doing this in the main game. You can play with bacteria, virus, fungus, the Nurex worm, parasite, prion, necrovirus, nanovirus, bioweapon, or simian flu. Most of these play fairly similarly. Bacteria is the base one that you get at the start of the game. Virus mutates on its own, but it becomes deadlier as time goes on, so sometimes you don't want it to be deadly, so you actually have to pay to get rid of abilities. Fungus can actually transport itself, and it goes on. The only ones that have really different playstyles, though, are the Nurex worm, the necrovirus, and the simian flu. Simian flu is, as you can see here, a tie-in with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and in addition to infecting humans and killing them off, you actually get to sort of control ape colonies. So you can have apes form societies, you can have them raid laboratories and free more apes and infect them, so on and so forth. The Nurex worm, and I'll probably show this one off, is a parasite. It gets into the brain, and you can actually sort of use that to infect more people by, say, for example, sending someone who's infected to a certain place in order to infect that country. The necrovirus is definitely not a zombie virus. It does, in fact, reanimate people, but it is not a zombie virus. This one also has sort of a thing where you have the ability to control large clumps of infected and move them around, but it's very slow. Unless you're much better at tactical sort of control than I am, this takes like 30 minutes to complete a game. Now, the game itself is fairly slow-paced for the most part. You select a virus, you can insert genes, these give different bonuses. For example, the ATP boost means you get more DNA at the beginning for buying various abilities. This gives you DNA from popping bubbles. This one pops bubbles automatically. I'm just going to go for this because it makes things easier when running. I say, let's just go for that. Suppression is always nice. Extremophile and let's say that one. So these genes are just different sort of things that you can apply to your virus or infection to just make it better. So for example, the metabolic hijack is part of a series which affects the bubbles that will show up in game. I'll show you those later. Genetic mimic, this one sort of adjusts how your virus evolves on its own. This one is how it transfers. This one is obviously how it reacts to its environment. And this one, I guess, is just various things relating to actually buying abilities. You don't have to use any of these, and at the beginning of the game, these are all locked, so you have to unlock them by playing more. One thing to note is that the not zombie virus and the simian virus actually have special genes for themselves, which is why this isn't at 100% unlock, even though I have all the things for this virus. Game difficulty, cheats, you unlock these as you play. I'll just go with these ones. Makes things a bit easier. Just for demonstration purposes. Yeah, I'll just call it... Actually, hold on a second. I'm gonna look up what that thing is called. Because this is a mind worm, it's sort of like that thing in the Animorphs books. So, Animorphs... Yeerks. That's what they're called. Okay. They're called the Yeerks, I think. If Wikipedia is to be believed. So I'll just go with that as a mind-controlling worm. Now, yes, I get to select my starting location. So let's say, for example, I'd pick the US. Now, you'll notice that there are these bubbles that show up. Because I have metabolic hijack, all of these bubbles will be popped automatically, but normally you could pop these to get bonus DNA. Like that. So I have 2007, 2008, 2009. Now, by getting those bubbles popped, I get DNA points. I started off with a big amount since I cheated. And those can be used to buy 3 different things. Transmission vectors, symptoms, and abilities. The abilities will generally be related to cold resistance, heat resistance, drug resistance, and how difficult it is to cure the virus. I think I actually set mine to be uncurable. But some of them, this one specifically, has a special ability where I can evolve Trojan planes. So, a manipulation of dopamine transporters results in form of ADHD, which encourages hosts to fly to a target country. So, and I'll show this to you actually in a moment. Just do that. This allows me to actually select once it shows up. There we go. This bubble allows me to select any location and transfer my Yeerks to it. So, for example, if I have been having trouble infecting Greenland, I can send my worms over here, or actually Madagascar. I can send the worms there, and they will infect the country automatically. From there, they spread. Now, it's one of those things where you gotta kind of use it or lose it, so... Sure, Africa. Now, I can buy more abilities. For example, symptoms. Well, transmissions first. Most of the time, this would have a standardized sort of setup. This one is different because it's a special virus. So, I get the ability to increase my transmission abilities. So, in doing this, I start off here. The worm actually has the ability to move outside the body. It gets better. It can float on the air. And it has the increased ability to live in hot climates. Transfer through water. The eggs are able to grow in human conditions. Infection by animal carriers, and so on and so forth. This increases its ability to mutate and generate more symptoms. Now, the symptoms in this case are, various things. Coughing, sneezing, choking, blindness in some cases. Wow, that's going crazy. Okay. I think... No, nobody's dead yet. And almost the entire world is infected. So, down here, we have the ability to see various stats on the world map. On the left here is any country that is non-infected, so normally that's Greenland or Madagascar. In this case, every country has been infected, so this is where they are. This is how many countries have been completely wiped out, as in the entire population of the country is dead. None of them are at that point, even though I have 3,000 some odd dead, 300,000 dead, and this is just the total. So I've got 99% that are infected, I've got 800,000 that are healthy, and 300,000 that are dead. Now, I guess I will just wait. There we go, everyone's been infected. So now is when I start buying symptoms. You start off with neural breach. The worms can infect the brain directly. Then you move on to something like increasing allergic reactions to the worm, lessening severity of allergic reactions to the worm. Let's see, frontal mesh. The worm gains the ability to mentally manipulate the host. increased hormones. Ah, here we are. So, this normally the worm would normally an infection would start off sort of low, get coughing, pneumonia, nausea, then work up to something crazy like a coma or total organ failure. In this case, because it's a special infection, I get a couple options. For example, transcendence. As a result of evolving this, the worm is now treated as a god by the infected. And since I've infected the entirety of the planet, yeah, Neurax worms win. No. There we are. The whole world worships Yerks as their god and master. Efforts to cure the plague have deceased, and humanity is entering a dark new future as a slave species. So, you know, bright and cheery. And of course, you can name them any sort of thing. For example, if I were to do the same thing again, I could name this my penis, and after a period of time, the entire world would be enslaved by my penis. So you can always go crazy like that. Now, there are also things like scenarios. These are sort of modifiers on the game. For example, you have the Black Death, which has a set of its own statistics, sort of similar to the Neurax worm. There's the Who Cares setup, where poor countries are basically ignored until they've started reaching major countries. So let's say, for example, I did this, got all that, and set to normal. Now let's just say, for example, we have a virus named Ebola. And we started off in, let's say, West Africa, just for example. In this scenario, this country is basically ignored. Because, you know, it's the third world, who cares? But eventually, it'll start moving. It'll start growing more powerful and infecting more. Now, this is how a normal game runs. You very, very slowly infect people, and as time goes on, you can start building up your symptoms, abilities, and transmissions. So, let's just say it transfers via blood. Also up here, and these are just kind of small things, various headlines will come up. Sometimes these headlines will actually impact your game itself, like they'll say that airplanes use new sterilization air filters. So in order to bypass that, I would have to buy this, which allows me to pass through those filters. Other times, there will be funny little things. For example, woman catches man flu, Texas votes to ban guns, ha! And a dancing twig in a pot is best-selling Christmas gift. And sure. And I'll just do this. Now, one thing that's kind of annoying is that the game is sort of... Yeah, top-notch mine opens in Sweden. The game is pretty much this. You set the game up, you let it run, and very occasionally you'll actually interact with it. So now West Africa is starting to really go up on the infection. And very slowly it'll just start spreading all over the world. Let's get it some heat and cold resistance, so it can spread more easily. But yeah, this is pretty much the game. You sit there, you let the game run, and you try and destroy the world. It's not a whole lot of interaction. It works interestingly as a simulation, although how accurate a simulation is a question that needs to be determined. really starting to spread. Now, of course, because this is the scenario where the first world doesn't really care about the third world, and the first world has not too many cases of dead, the cure research is going very slowly. Oh my. Oh my. Well, this... Okay. This is picking up more than I was expecting. These are cure bubbles. Basically, one country is attempting to lead the world in cure. I believe in this case it is Germany. So by popping these, I slow down their research process, and if I have a certain genetic thing going on, I get extra DNA from it. It's pretty useful. Ooh my. Oh my indeed. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let me see if I can increase my transmission rates, because right now it is going to kill everyone before it even gets close. I mean, jeez. Okay, how are we looking? 300,000 are still alive. Okay, everyone's infected. Now I wait for the virus to kill the world. This was without cheats, incidentally. It's yeah. So the world is dying. Yeah. Okay, so what's today's date? I did not expect it to go that far. Oh boy. So there it is. Ebola has destroyed the world despite the world's best efforts. The last few humans lie dying in holes with no chance of survival. So even when you win, it's not a great feeling. You just killed the human race. Congratulations. And it only took me how many days? 683 days. So mark that in your calendars. In about 2 years, Ebola will have wiped out all life on Earth. Good to know. Now, one thing you can do is you can make custom scenarios, and the scenario creator, it opens in a different menu, but it is very extensive. So, just here's an example of some random ones. Lycanthropy, a demon awakens. Not sure what this one does, so we'll just see in a moment when it opens. How about Day of the Triffids? Vampire Plague. New Transylvania, but doesn't appear to cause harm. The infected have got unusually large teeth. They also claim to taste iron in their mouths. Rise of the Machines. You in a state-of-the-art experimental AI system. Builds up your core programs that seize the world in your iron grip. Let's see. Once by interesting. So the guy's actually got music. Last Judgment. It is, like I said, quite extensive. You can do a lot. You can select how various countries interact with other countries, what sort of thresholds they will take, at which point they'll take action, and that sort of thing. And, of course, you can even set custom abilities for the virus to get. So the worm, for example, you can make by yourself in the scenario creator. Fairly easily, in fact. So, my final thoughts... It's not bad, honestly. The game is a good simulation. It's fun to just run random stuff. The scenario creator gives it infinite replayability because you can just set up random things to go with it. And it's not too taxing on the computer. You can just let it run in the background if you want. You can sort of see how things go. You can have it as a very, very interactive screensaver. For $15, it's all right. So, again, try out the free version, see what you think. If this is the kind of thing you're into, give it a shot. If it's not, well, can't really talk you into buying something you don't want to get. Anyway, this has been Ayoto Corporation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.